5 school children among 7 killed in a blast in southwest Pakistan. Bangladesh slaps sedition charges on Hindu teachers over saffron flag display. North Korea says it will stand by Russia until victory over Ukraine. Japan and the European Union announced new defence pact. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell calls it a timely step. In western Pakistan, a blast near a girls' school killed at least 7 people, including 5 students, and injured 23 others. Authorities report that an improvised explosive device was attached to a motorcycle near the school, targeting police officers guarding polio vaccinators. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the attack, which coincides with Pakistan's 3rd nationwide polio campaign launched this week amid rising cases of the disease. In Bangladesh, tensions erupted in Dhaka's Mirpur area on Friday as government workers stormed the streets after a factory shut down, leaving them without work or pay. Security forces were deployed as protesters set fire to police and army vehicles. Police reportedly responded with tear gas and fired shots to disperse the crowd. Earlier on Thursday, a torch procession in Dhaka, led by the Bangladesh United Minority Alliance, called for better treatment of minorities following sedition charges against 19 people accused of disrespecting the national flag in Chittagong. In another incident, violence broke out at the Jatiya Party's central office in Dhaka as a mob clashed with party members, vandalizing property and setting parts of the building on fire. Patrolling by Indian troops in the Demchok sector in eastern Ladakh has started today. Army sources said that patrolling in the Depsang sector is expected to begin soon. And earlier on Thursday, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had said that disengagement process in certain areas along the line of actual control is almost complete, based on consensus achieved between India and China. The Defence Minister also said that our efforts will be to take the matter beyond disengagement, but for that, we will have to wait a little longer. North Korea successfully test-fired a new intercontinental ballistic missile dubbed Hwasong-19. North Korea's state-run media showed a video of the missile test carried out on Thursday, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un watching the launch at the site. North Korea said the launch had the longest flight time compared to previous launches. The Hwasong-19 demonstrated the range to strike nearly anywhere in the United States. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has hailed very close ties between Moscow and Pyongyang. He met his North Korean counterpart, who is in Russia. The meeting comes amid accusations from the West that Russia is planning a military escalation in Ukraine using thousands of North Korean troops said to be in Russia.
Very close ties have been established between the militaries and special services of the two countries. This will also make it possible to reach significant security targets for our citizens and yours.
North Korea's FM said that the country will stand by Russia until its victory in Ukraine.
The Democratic People's Republic of Korea has unwavering confidence that the Russian military and people who have risen with resolve in the just struggle to end the high-handedness and unilateral actions of the US and the West and establish a new international order will surely achieve victory under the wise leadership of Comrade President Putin. We affirm that we will always stand with our Russian comrades until the day of victory.
The United States is expecting North Korean soldiers in Russia to deploy in combat against Ukrainian forces in the coming days. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that about 8,000 North Korean troops have been deployed to Russia's western frontline Kursk region, with a total of 10,000 troops in the country.
We now assess that there are some 10,000 North Korean soldiers in total in Russia. And the most recent information indicates that as many as 8,000 of those North Korean forces have been deployed to the Kursk region. We've not yet seen these troops deploy into combat against Ukrainian forces, but we would expect that to happen in the coming days. Russia has been training DPRK soldiers in artillery, UAVs, basic infantry operations, including trench clearing, indicating that they fully intend to use these forces in frontline operations.
The United States pushed for a diplomatic resolution to end the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah as a rocket attack by Hezbollah on Israel claimed at least 7 civilians' lives. Hezbollah said that it had launched several rocket and artillery attacks against Israeli forces. Israeli air defenses intercepted rockets fired from Lebanon as the Israeli Defense Forces continued its campaign against Hezbollah. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that there has been progress on requirements for the implementation of a UNSC resolution which calls for withdrawal of Hezbollah from Israel-Lebanon border.
This would be the basis of a diplomatic resolution to the crisis. It's important to make sure that we have clarity, both from Lebanon and from Israel, about what would be required under 1701 to get its effective implementation. The withdrawal of Hezbollah forces from the border, the deployment of the Lebanese armed forces, the authorities under which they'd be acting, an appropriate enforcement mechanism.
Days after Israel launched airstrikes on Iran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that Israel has the capability to reach anywhere in Iran should the need arise.
Israel today has more freedom of action in Iran than ever. We can reach any place in Iran as necessary. The supreme goal I gave to Israel Defense Forces and the security branches is to prevent Iran from achieving a nuclear weapon.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin discussed opportunities for regional de-escalation with his Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant during a phone call. Austin reviewed prospects for a hostage release and a ceasefire deal. In a statement, Gallant's office said that the Israeli defense minister briefed Austin on the success of Israel's strikes on Iran and also discussed strategic opportunities that may have arisen. The European Commission plans to investigate Chinese online shopping platform Temu over possible violation of its Digital Services Act. DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu joins us from Berlin with more. Chiponda, can you break down what the EU is planning for us?
Thanks for having me. Well, the European Commission says its probe is linked to the sale of illegal products and whether Temu has done enough to prevent that. And other issues in the investigation include Temu's potentially addictive design, systems that recommend products to users, and data access for researchers. Now, Temu has taken much of the world by storm. And last year, the ultra-low-cost shopping platform was the most downloaded app in France and Germany. That's also why any potential violations are a major source of concern for the European Commission. Unlike other e-commerce retailers, like Amazon and Zalando, Temu cuts out middlemen and links buyers directly to manufacturers in China. And that means goods are sent straight from Chinese factories or warehouses to European buyers. Now, that model also raises questions as to whether there are systems to ensure products meet EU standards.
Also, what does the investigation really mean for Temu, if you could tell us that?
Well, the company could be fined as much as 6% of its annual revenue if Brussels finds that Temu violated the Digital Services Act. And the Chinese company has reportedly said that it will cooperate with EU regulators. And depending on the findings of the investigation, Temu may also be forced to review its business model to ensure it can comply with EU rules. That, of course, may be welcome news not just for the platform's competitors, but also for other industries. Now, earlier this year, Reuters had reported that Temu was sending around 4,000 tons of goods a day around the world from China. The platform has, of course, been taking up a big chunk of the available air cargo space to move all those packages, and it has pushed up shipping costs and created capacity shortages. And because of the amounts that people are buying, there are also concerns about waste in the EU. Of course, that is not just a problem caused by Temu, but also other e-commerce platforms that sell products very cheap.
So what can we expect now?
Well, Temu isn't the only company facing an investigation for potential violation of the Digital Services Act. Meta, Alibaba, TikTok, and X are also facing EU probes. So this, of course, may be another example of Brussels making sure regulations are not being flouted, especially by services that are popular with European users. Now, the European Commission said Temu declared 92 million users in the bloc in September. Another issue of concern, which was named in the press release on the investigation on Thursday, would be customs duties. There are concerns that some platforms from outside the EU have found ways to send packages into the bloc without having to pay import duties. And that could be by deliberately undervaluing the goods in customs declarations or by splitting orders. And of course, that is something that the European Commission also wrote about last year.
Thanks, Chiponda, for joining us from Berlin. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Donald Trump slams Kamala Harris and Joe Biden says they ignored Hindus in and out of America. Death toll from devastating flash floods in eastern Spain climbs to 158.
Who will be the next president of United States of America?
Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president?
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
to decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. In Spain, cleanup efforts are underway after a trail of destruction was left due to deadly floods. Teams from Spain's military emergency unit started cleaning up highways near Valencia 3 days after the flash floods that killed 158 people. The disaster could become Europe's worst storm-related disaster in over 5 decades. 1 year's worth of rain fell in just 8 hours in parts of the Valencia region on Tuesday. The European Union has expressed their concern on the devastating conditions caused due to the recent flooding in Spain. While addressing the media during COP16, European Commission envoy Florinca Fink-Hugier called the floods catastrophic.
A tragedy like this one is not just a Spanish one, it really affects all of us in Europe. It's also important to see that such devastating impacts, these sort of flash floods. Of course, they're exacerbated by climate change and by the high temperatures and the drought. But all of this is also because of the drought, again, then biodiversity has been lost. So it's an illustration of what is going wrong for the moment in the world.
Japan and the European Union announced a new security and defense partnership in Tokyo, which EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell hailed as a historic and timely step. Borrell and his Japanese counterpart Takeshi Iwaya unveiled the pact to develop cooperation on joint military drills, the exchange of information related to the defense industry, and space security, among other matters. He called it the first agreement of this nature the EU has made with an Asia-Pacific country, describing it as historical and very timely.
To announce the conclusion of this security and defense partnership between the European Union and Japan. It is the first agreement of this nature that we conclude with the Indo-Pacific countries. And it's so important because we are fully aware that Indo-Pacific will be the theater where the history of mankind will be written in this century.
Donald Trump strongly condemned the violence against Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. The Republican presidential candidate has vowed to strengthen his ties with India and called Prime Minister Narendra Modi his quote-unquote good friend. Trump said Bangladesh remains in a total state of chaos and alleged his Democratic rival Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden have ignored Hindus across the world and in America. In July and August, several members of the Hindu community in Bangladesh were attacked by mobs after a students' agitation over a controversial quota system turned into a massive anti-government protest, which resulted in the ouster of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Just days ahead of the presidential election, poll fever goes high in the United States. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris campaigned in the western part of the country, crisscrossing the key swing states. DD India's Abhishek Bose brings us this report.
As the voting day approaches in the United States, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump remain in neck-and-neck competition. Both Trump and Harris campaigned in the western part of the US and key swing states like Arizona and Nevada. Harris concluded her schedule with a performance by Jennifer Lopez in Las Vegas as she seeks to connect with Latino voters in the final days of the election.
Right now, we are on the brink of an election that demands a choice. A choice between backwards and forwards, a choice between the past and the future, a choice between divided and united.
US Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris urged voters to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump.
And we know we have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. We're done with that.
Donald Trump used anti-immigration rhetoric to sway voters during a rally in Nevada.
The United States is now an occupied country. Can you believe I have to say that? We're an occupied country. Through our open border, Kamala Harris is also actively aiding and abetting the worst human traffickers, child smugglers, drug dealers, and bloodthirsty criminal networks on the planet.
Early voting has begun in states across the country where voters can cast their ballots in person or by mail. More than 41 million Americans have already cast their ballots ahead of the election day on November 5. The latest polls by the economist YouGov and Tip Insights indicate that Harris has a slight lead of just 1 percentage point, with 44% of voters supporting her, while Trump is backed by 43%. 7 swing states, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin and Nevada will decide the election this time. Swing states are states that can be won by either candidate in a presidential election. They are also called battleground states. These states are important because they can decide the outcome of the election. Presidential candidates focus a lot of time and energy on winning these states. About 240 million people are eligible to vote in the 2024 US election. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
At a special Diwali reception in London, the UK's Minister for the Indo-Pacific, Catherine West, reaffirmed Britain's eagerness to finalise a free trade agreement with India. Referencing the previous government's Diwali 2022 deadline, Catherine West expressed the Labour government's strong commitment to concluding the deal, saying, "We are still extremely keen to get on with our trade deal, even if it is a few Diwalis late." Speaking to a gathering of leaders and professionals, she highlighted ongoing efforts to build toward what she called the quote-unquote magic moment of signing the FTA and encouraged well wishes for the successful conclusion of negotiations. The Halloween festival in the United States is a vibrant celebration marked by a mix of spooky fun, community spirit and creativity. Homes and businesses are adorned with a variety of decorations. You'll see everything from carved pumpkins and skeletons to spider webs and eerie lighting. DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh gets us more chills.
As the race for the White House heats up, people in the US have an opportunity to relax, unwind and celebrate thanks to the Halloween festivities. In New York's Times Square, 3 new sculptures have been installed ahead of the annual Day of the Dead celebrations in the coming days. The 3 statues are colorful representations of the Mexican holiday, while according to beliefs, the dead return to Earth to visit their loved ones.
I lost my daughter 9 years ago, so I have a big shrine for her and everything, but it's so beautiful to have this.
In Atlanta, Georgia, we visit a Halloween shop. The shop is all decked up with scary installations, ghostly props, costumes on display to create the typical Halloween spirit and scare. Children could be seen enjoying the displays with family and shopping for trick-and-treat adventures.
Halloween is all about just having fun and, going out and trick-or-treating and stuff like that, getting all your candy and stuff, you know what I'm saying? All that, yeah, parties and stuff, Halloween parties for the older people, you know what I'm saying? It's all fun, it's just a fun day.
It's just like the culture of it, it's just about scaring people, it's supposed to be dressing up. You can really dress up as anything, you don't have to go as something scary about that.
I would say in America, Halloween is all about what's spooky, dressing up, having fun, getting with family members and friends, and just spending the day basically being something that you're not, I would say.
Halloween is observed on October 31st. Many neighborhoods compete for the most creative displays, turning streets into whimsical and haunted landscapes.
While Halloween has many Christian and pagan roots, it's mostly a day to celebrate with friends and family amid scary costumes, trick-and-treats, and remember one's ancestors. With camera person Jayashankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Atlanta.
The National Stock Exchange and BSE Sensex are observing Muhurat trading, a special 1-hour trading session marking the start of the Hindu New Year. Traders and investors make auspicious investments, believing it brings wealth and prosperity for the coming year. Muhurat trading, a long-standing tradition in the Indian stock markets, holds special significance as it coincides with the festival of Diwali and the start of the Hindu New Year, which is Samvat 2081 this time. Conducted for just 1 hour in the evening, this symbolic trading session is believed to bring prosperity and success to investors and traders for the year ahead. Sports news now. Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant are at the crease as India ended the opening day at 86 for 4, trailing New Zealand by 149 runs. India was solidly put at 78 for 1 at one stage, but they lost 3 wickets in 8 balls, including Virat Kohli, to hand advantage to New Zealand. Earlier, Ravindra Jadeja claimed his 14th 5-wicket haul in Test cricket as India made a remarkable comeback to bowl out New Zealand for 235 runs. With 4 wickets to his credit, Washington Sundar also helped the hosts' cause. Daryl Mitchell top scored for New Zealand with a terrific 82, while Will Young hit 71. Australian men's cricket team will tour Sri Lanka for a 2-match test series as well as a one-off ODI during the January to February next year, the Sri Lankan Cricket Board announced on Friday. The test series will be part of the current World Cup Championship cycle. Both tests will be played at the Galle International Cricket Stadium in Galle. The first match will begin on the 29th of January, while the second one will start on the 6th of February. The one-off ODI will be held on the 13th of February with the venue yet to be confirmed. Both Australia and Sri Lanka have a test series each prior to the next year's duel. Australia is set to host India for a 5-match test series from the 22nd of November to the 7th of January, while Sri Lanka will visit South Africa for a 2-match series from the 27th of November to the 9th of December. The final of the World Test Championship will be held at Lord's in London from 11th to 15th June. India's Anish Sarkar has become the youngest ever FIDE-rated chess player at the age of 3 years, 8 months and 19 days. Anish Sarkar, born on the 26th of January 2021, became the youngest ever rated player after competing in the West Bengal State Under-9 Open and the West Bengal State Under-13 Open in October. Anish Sarkar currently has a FIDE rating of 151,555 in the November 2024 list. However, one of the players became absent and the organizer decided to put Anish Sarkar's name as a substitute. Anish Sarkar surpassed Tejas Tiwari to achieve this feat, who became the youngest FIDE-rated player at the age of 5 in 2023. That's all in this edition of DD India Live, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.